Online privacy. I think I bought this a couple of days ago. I don't know. This is not mine. Anyway, online privacy is bigger than you know. It's much bigger than you know. It's bigger than Facebook. Like I said, this is something I was going to talk about a while back, but I said let me bring it up now. What I'm saying, people think that it's just you know the data collection. When you don't understand that this whole privacy and online privacy is far beyond the scope of online. It's far beyond the scope of anything that you could possibly imagine. I mean, if I just go through some of the things that entails is biometric technology, biometric encryption, video surveillance, online privacy and e-commerce, workplace monitoring, wireless communication and location tracking, data profiling, criminal identity theft, background checks, information broker industry, public records on the internet, financial privacy, medical record and confidentiality, genetic privacy, direct-to-consumer DTC genetic testing, wiretapping and electronic communications, youth privacy issues, digital rights management, digital television and broadband cable TV, radio frequency identification, real ID, absence of federal level privacy protection law, behavioral targeting, cloud computing, digital signage, smart grid, data anonymization, big data, Internet of Things. Like I said, this goes into so many list of things. I mean, this research I had since like 2015. You know what I'm saying? Just I don't want to go into reading it, but I mean, there's so many issues that comes into play. When it entails online privacy. Maybe this is something that people want to talk about. Maybe this is something people don't want to talk about. But you're constantly being watched. You're constantly, being targeted. As far be it from a consumer standpoint or from a oversight standpoint. You never know. Like I said, you never know where it's going to come from. And I tell people, be careful with the information that you put out there. Be careful with how you present yourself to the world and whatnot. And even things that you may not want to be out there. You have to be careful because information is constantly being sold. Your personal information, as far as, where you go, as far as your favorite restaurants or, like where you may hang out and stuff like that. What's going on, Margie? Thank you, besides that. I'm just talking about the whole privacy thing. I'm not trying to go too deep into it. It is what it is. The click. Thank you for being here. Like I said, I just talk to different things. Like I said, when it comes to biometrics and stuff like that, the secret video surveillance of thousands of football fans who attended Super Bowl 2001 in Tampa Bay, Florida, was the first time that many Americans learned of the so-called something called facial recognition biometrics. The technology used was not a common form of video monitoring that we were familiar with in convenience stores, at shopping malls, and in city streets. These systems do not have the capacity of identifying individuals whose face are captured on videotape. Now, what I'm saying, basically, I'm just trying to read some of it when it comes to biometrics and stuff like that, is basically being able to map your face and follow you and see you in different places. Like I said, this information, all this different information, as far as your ID and where you go, where you live, and how you move, all this stuff is being stored somewhere. It's being sold to somebody. And I say to folks, just be careful out there. Be careful with how much information you put out there. Sometimes even if you're not online, your information is being used and whatnot. It's being disseminated amongst different agencies and different social media sites and stuff like that. Even if you decide you wanted to go off grid, like I said, there's constantly somebody watching and whatnot. And it comes down to the situation, who's policing the people that are policing you or that are watching you. Where's the oversight? Where's the regulation as it pertains to? When they were talking to Mark Zuckerberg today, they had the nerve to ask him what regulations, or if anything, that he felt was necessary. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you ask the CEO of Facebook what regulations does he feel is necessary to have oversight over his company? As opposed to just learning about the technology and being real about what data collection is already there. I mean, there's trillions and trillions of bits of information out there. Check out the OPSEC thinking. Yes, there's so much stuff out there. Like I said, there's so much information that's being disseminated and just given, especially with your credit card information and stuff like that. It is really crazy, and this is not just a Facebook problem. This is a problem online, be it Apple, be it YouTube, be it Twitter, be it Twitch, because people don't realize that we use a lot of these platforms for free, but our information is being stored and sold and disseminated to somebody. I have people, no offense to any Asian folks out there, but I have people calling me speaking in Mandarin and Cantonese on a regular basis. Where did they get this information from? My information was caught up in a hack. Thank God I didn't have too much information out there, but it was some company called River City Media. There was a big hack of their database, and all of a sudden now my information was disseminated amongst different countries in China and India, probably in Africa somewhere. I got people calling me from different parts of the world and stuff like that. I mean, what do you do? How do you combat this stuff? It's kind of crazy because, you don't want to think that your information, is being put out there and whatnot and bought and sold like it is, but that's what happens. I had a friend that owned a business, bought and sold names for leads. Yeah, that's a certain type of marketing, but when you're talking about buying and selling names for leads, that's a different situation as opposed to people, buying, where you shop and knowing what your doctor's information is, your medical history, and understanding your work history and having privy knowledge to your identity and being able to follow you down the streets or whatever the case may be, even knowing your mistress name, So, I mean, yeah, it's just the next level, but it's scary, scary the type of world that we living in. Like I said, somebody said on an online show that the one of the biggest myths nowadays is that there's privacy. Yeah, I agree. Click. There's no more such thing as privacy. It's like where do you turn? Sometimes I look up and there's military helicopters flying around my house. I don't know why there's military helicopters flying around my house next to the projects, but it happens. What do you say? Like I said, what are you looking for? What are you trying to find? What are you seeing? What I'm saying? Like I said, it's just crazy because you constantly being watched under surveillance and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm an American citizen. I'm born here. I'm not doing anything to hurt anybody. And then there's stuff that's misused and abused to hurt people and stuff like that. And you never really know. Like I said, I guess it's within mankind's resources to use and abuse and misuse the technology that we have. But it's so much of an issue right now because, like I said, what is privacy now? When you're in your home, do you really have any privacy when you use these devices? When you turn on the television, when you turn on your cell phone and whatnot, it's like, it's crazy. I wanted to stop by, just some love. Thank you, paranormal investigators. I appreciate you for coming through. But like I said, it's just like, how do you combat this situation? Because it's almost like opening Pandora's box. On one end, they're saying to you, okay, we're allowing you to use this information or use these services and resources for free. But we need all your information. We need to be able to map and pattern out where you go and what you do. Yeah. And it's like, there is no such thing as privacy. I mean, they say it is. I mean, I guess maybe depending on if you're a government official or something like that, or Oscorp's collecting or sharing all your private data. Yeah, True Patriot. It's kind of like that, and it's sad. I mean, I remember those days when you didn't have to worry about, Joe Schmo having access to your information and, telemarketers calling you anytime they felt like it and whatnot. Sometimes to the point where I just had to turn my phone off. My house phone is just basically off. Yeah, and everyone should learn about the 5 eyes. Yeah, well, hey, maybe that's something to check out. But like I said, there's so many different ways now. What's going on, Drive Shaft Roof? Thank you for coming through. There's so many different ways, like I said, this is beyond Facebook. People think that the thing with Facebook is this big issue when this is something that's been going on, well before they decided they wanted to call Mark Zuckerberg into question. It's just that now people are starting to notice these things, and it's really too late. It's already too late. Pandora's box has been opened. Like I said, you have the biometrics, you have the online privacy issues, you have the data profiling, the criminal identity theft, the background checks. You got what's going on, Crimson Fantasy. You got the medical records, confidentiality. There's issues with that. Thank you, Drive Shaft Drew. I appreciate that. You got basically, the electronic communications, the youth privacy issues. You have to really monitor this stuff as far as it becomes to your children. Be careful not to, let your children get on here. Basically, a corp is given the right to break international laws. In exchange, they agree to share all data with the Colombians, aka District of Columbia. What's up, real thing? I appreciate you for coming through. I mean, it's kind of sad because, like I said, it's a situation where now, you could just be coming on here just to do your thing, not doing nothing, not minding your business, not trying to do anything, and then it's like the technology, the tools, or the resources that you're using are being used to manipulate you. And then we haven't even gotten into artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence plays into the whole situation. That's a whole nother thing. Like I said, so the internet is cool, but I think the way people have used it, it has corrupted, the original uses and what it's for, sharing the information and being able to do particular things out there, because it's some scary, freaky stuff going on this internet. Like I said, you have to be careful. Like I said, it's some very crazy, crazy stuff. Like I said, I don't have all the proof and the smoking gun, if anything like that, but there's been particular things going on. And like I said, this whole thing with Facebook and all the stuff that's happening is really just a microcosm of a bigger problem. How do you control all this stuff? Is privacy still a thing? And I agree with True Patriot. And Margie, privacy is a thing of the past. You cannot convince me. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how smart. I don't care how intelligent you are. You cannot convince me that there's total privacy within your home, within your work. I go in the bathroom right now. Like I said, is a possibility. And this is not just a conspiracy theory. You know what I'm saying? There's a possibility to be monitored, to be watched. You take your phone with you. You can have geo tracking on the phone. Like I said, GPS or whatever the case may be. And I'm not trying to be the conspiracy theorist, but I'm just asking the questions and posing the questions. How far does it go? Where does it stop? Where's it going to lead to? I mean, how much of the manipulation and things happen? Because it was a thing where people asked the question when Facebook came out. How are they making their money? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is Facebook making its money? And people said it's selling of the information. Man, if my phone could tell a story, there you go. It probably could. Give me your phone. I probably could find out what a spider used for web for. And yeah. Listen, I don't know. Drones are being used. I forgot about drone technologies. Yes, you can have different drones that fly around and whatnot. I mean, no offense to President Obama, but drone usage was at a high rate, when he was in office. And like I said, this is not said to try to, cause a stir or conspiracy or whatever. But the reality is, what is the technology being used for? I mean, you have so much surveillance, so many people being watched. It's kind of crazy. Don't forget programmable black goo. Hey, listen, 1984 and 2018 size dad says, yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, it might be a trap. It might be a trap because there's so much stuff that's unexplained. Like I said, I haven't even gone into the information I have, cloud computing, the stuff that's in the cloud, what's going on with the information that you have in the cloud. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's the smart grid. I mean, do people understand how the smart grid actually works and where your information is going? The profiles. I mean, back in the day, they used to have, like profiles of you and whatnot, I guess, certain agencies or organizations. Now, all they have to do is just tap on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and wherever you go and just compile the information, and they can actually go from, your personal history off to your social media, off to your work history, and they could create a beautiful file on you there. Like I said, and it goes to the point where how much do you actually watch, the American citizens, especially people who haven't done anything? Where does it go? Where does the manipulation stop? Everyone wants the truth, however, most can't handle it. Yes, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the reality is when you see stuff like this with Facebook, what's going to happen is they're going to talk about it for a while. Some people will pick it up. Most people will ignore it. Back to the entertainment, back to the sports, back to the movies. Oh, Avengers is coming out. Oh, this movie is coming out. Oh, that sports event is coming out. Baseball is here. Let's do that. And rugby is here. And then soccer. And the Summer Olympics, if that's something. It's crazy. Task Force used my brother's Facebook to help give him a 7-year sentence. That's crazy, real thing. Back in the day, something like that would never happen. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm not going to question whether or not your brother should or shouldn't be arrested, but it just goes to show, how this stuff is used. And it's crazy. It's really crazy how much of this stuff delves deep into our personal lives. And I try to tell people to be careful, try to control how much you use it and how much you interact with it. But it's addictive. Some people said studies have shown that this is more addictive than drugs. Most people don't realize that. I heard Facebook call this little girl mom from based on posts. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. The feds took my passport into info that legally stolen. Wow, that's crazy. You still got no passport. That's crazy, True Patriot. I don't know. It's a crazy situation, man. You got to watch out. I mean, on one end, you say there needs to be regulation. You know, on one end, you say, okay, there needs to be some oversight. There needs to be somebody watching the watches or whatever the case may be. On another end, you do have those folks who abuse this situation, who take advantage of it, who lead people astray. And it's crazy because, you know, you say to yourself, man, you know, it's like, you know, how far is this going to go? You know, and like I said, we haven't even gotten into the artificial intelligence side of it. We haven't even delved into the morality aspects of it. You know, how moral or immoral or unethical these things are, you know, because it's like, where's the boundaries? You know, oversight is kind of like how many tries to declare war on a plan like it and did with cannabis. Yeah, I mean, there's many things you can go with that, you know, True Patriot. But like I said, I think this issue right here with privacy, online privacy, you know, is so much deeper. It's so much deeper. You know, the awareness of it all. You know, FBI just like a small drop of water, putting our attention when there's bigger waves. Yes, I mean the FBI is FB. Yeah, Facebook. I thought you said the FBI. Facebook is just a small drop in the bucket. It's a microcosm of the bigger issue. We have no privacy online. Never did. You know, some people would debate you on that, whether or not there was actually online privacy. You know, some people would. I mean, I could say maybe the last little bit of online privacy, or a lot of it that people had, was maybe in 2005. I think as after 2005, moving on to 2010, 12, and stuff like that, I think that kind of started to disappear. I kind of think that's more of a myth now. I mean, I give you for instance, I posted a post on Twitter last night, and it was about, you know, somebody that passed away recently. You know, I guess a famous artist or something like that. I put the post on there, said nothing crazy, nothing derogatory, and the post just disappeared. You know, the censorship part of it, I mean, we're not even going to get into that. Censorship is its own issue. It's its own monster. It's its own beast. You know, if we started talking about censorship, that's another issue. You know, understanding and trying to figure out who can say what and where they can, and, you know, who's deemed a terrorist or who's deemed negative, or, you know, what is hate speech and what is not hate speech. You know, the differences of opinion and stuff like that. You know, how these particular things work out. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes it's like the cat calling the kennel black. Landline phones aren't even private. Yeah, well, yeah, I can tell you that landline phones aren't as private as they used to be. No, ever since they went from analog to digital, a lot of stuff wasn't really private. Not anymore. Yeah, but neither wanted to. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. There's so many particular issues. It makes you wonder, you know, how much do you use these things? You know, how much can you trust, you know, the sites, the people that are, you know, overseeing these particular things. And like I said, I'm not saying this to try to cause a stir. I mean, maybe a lot of people may not even watch this. This may not even get any more views after this is uploaded. But it's an issue. Online privacy in general is just such a bigger issue than people understand. You know, this is something that affects, you know, people's lives. This is something that could be used to manipulate, you know, how you think, how you act, how you dress, you know, your political leanings, you know, your spiritual beliefs, or, you know, just any type of fear that would come, you know. So it's just something that, you know, is ever pervasive and whatnot. You know, maybe it is 1984, you know, Ministry of Information Censorship. That's funny. I mean, but there is definitely censorship. There is definitely, you know, folks watching. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against regulation. I'm not against folks being watched in certain ways. I'm not against folks, you know, things being done in the right manner, in an ethical way. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be police, because you do have people that abuse this. You do have hackers. You do have folks out there that misuse and abuse people in the name of decency, in the name of good. I'm not saying that there's not people out there that are trying to do good that shouldn't be applauded. You know, there are folks out there that should be applauded because they are trying to do good things. And I appreciate you folks. But for every person out there that's trying to do the right thing with this technology and trying to be upstanding and trying to look out for citizens all over the globe, you know, there are people out there who use and abuse this thing for a profit. There are people that make this more complicated. There are people that make it harder to trust. the technology that we use. There are people that make it, make folks want to get paranoid, to the point where, yeah, you could watch me from the satellite or wherever you're coming from or whatever the case may be. And like I said, I'm not trying to be negative towards anything. I'm not trying to say that you can't live, you can't use the technology, but it makes you weary. It makes you wonder, it makes you think. You know what I'm saying? It makes you say, hey, was the technology created for the things that we use it for? And it seems like, these things get manipulated and get used against people more than people being able to use them for good things. Because in one instance, when you're on a social media site, you have to wonder, you know, how much of those ads coming to you are because those are things that you want, or how many ideas or suggestions were implanted against you because people just want to manipulate you down so much to the point that we want to tell you what to eat, what to wear, how to think, what to feel, where you should live, all that stuff. And like I said, it's crazy. Like you said, we don't have to put any of our information out there. All banks, doctors, tax admission, accounts, and info can be queued or be hacked. Yeah, and that's another thing, privacy protection and all this other stuff, because you have oversights, you have people watching, you have people looking at things, but you can't even promise me that my stuff won't be put out there. Yes, and everything you say or do on your phone or computer can be tracked and traced back to you down to a minute of when you did it, and they know what you watch and what you say. It says as well. Yeah, this is true, Drew. This is true. This is true. Samantha Snowden. It's crazy. You hear your heart knows what's real and what is not, and the best to use the data to listen and hear it, and will always steer you safe. It's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge because you want to believe that all this stuff that's being used, this technology, is being used for your benefit. I want to believe that when I log on to, my YouTube account or my Twitter account or my Google Plus or wherever I'm at, I want to believe that the people in charge are doing the right things. I want to believe that when I go to my bank or I use an electronic device that's connected to something, that folks are not constantly trying to, manipulate the situation, people that are in control of it, but sometimes you wonder, is it really safe? Is it really, to the best, in my best interest? I know people are doing things with my information in their best interest. I know people are doing things with your information in their best interest, but, you start to wonder, how much of it is actually, in your best interest as well? How much of it's to protect you as well? You're the first you to say my name, right? Oh, so it's funny. Hey, listen, I just took a whim. I don't know. Like I said, it just comes down to a point where, what society are we living in? Where are we going with it? I mean, like I said, your best interest is only to ever consider you and you alone. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there's still people out there trying to do the right thing and trying to have oversight and trying to put regulations in place to really help folks out. But then you question just how much, you just question to, what can a person really do? Where can it really go? And yeah, you just have to be more aware. You have to be more woke, as people say, in today's society, because it's so many ways to cut up and try to do the right, then not trying to do not the right. Yeah. You got to try to do the right thing and, try to balance it out and whatnot. Just know that folks, have malintent, ill intent sometimes. And it's crazy because, like I said, I want to come online. I don't want to do anything to hurt nobody. I don't want to have to worry about my information, but the reality is anything can get hacked. Thanks for saying hi. I appreciate it. Anything can get hacked. You got to be careful with how much you put out there. Unless you're off the grid, they know who you are and what you do. Yes, they do. Drive after. And it's kind of crazy because it's like they're saying to you, we control or manipulate all the particular things that you do. And like I said, I'm not trying to make anybody feel any type of way, but you see it. And it's almost danced and paraded up on Capitol Hill like it's a joke. It's this big joke that people's, millions of people's IDs, identities, was said 80-something million people, IDs and personal information was hacked and taken, and they weren't notified, that, hey, maybe your personal information is floating around in a foreign country somewhere and being used, and abused in your name, like I said. So maybe this is something we could keep from you until Congress or somebody, or some internet, hacker just exposes the information, or some independent agency said now this is the time. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of crazy like that. It's just this it's a serious thing. The smartphone has become our best friend and our worst enemy at the same time. Well, I don't think the smartphone is our best friend and our worst enemy. I think what is our worst enemy, and sometimes our best friend is the human nature. It's the human condition. It's in humanity's nature to abuse the resources. It's almost like with guns. The guns don't kill people. People kill people. You put a firearm on the table. You put bullets on the table. The firearm and the bullets don't kill that other person, that other human being, that animal or whatever. It is the person who chooses to use the particular device in a manner to kill, to harm, to injure, to maim, whatever. So when you look at it, it's like the smartphone in of itself, powerful tool. The internet, powerful tool. All these things are powerful things. But it's the people. It's society. It's the people with malicious intent that abuse and manipulate and harm and skewer, and blur the lines of dark and light, good and evil, right and wrong, and do these type of things. Sorry, I lost faith in our system. It's broken. It all comes down to greed of money. Some people could say it's the love of money. So it's written that the love of money is the root of all evil. I mean, that could be a possibility that this is the case. This is the type of thing. I think it's a lack of love in the world, a lack of concern, a lack of caring for people. Because all these things that's going on right now unfold and play out in the future. It's like, what will this mean for the future? Because these type of things are not going away. I don't understand. I don't think people understand how big a deal this is. I really don't. I really don't. With the privacy issue, I don't think it's a big a deal how they see that thing on Capitol Hill was going down with Facebook. A lot of people are affected by that, and that's going to have a big ripple effects. Even though that's just a microcosm, that's just a small piece. That small piece is going to have ripple effects in the rest of society and moving forward with how people deal with things. And it's just out there on Front Street. The river brings control the flow of the currency. My point is that the currency is just one method of energy is manipulated. Yeah, unfortunately, that may be the case. But there's one common factor. There's, I guess, certain corruption or certain indecencies or immoralities that exist in the hearts of men that causes people to, manipulate and destroy and mangle society into this thing, or to mess with our privacy and do these particular things. Like I said, I just don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't pretend to have all the answers to it. I just know it's a situation where, it's really freaky, scary out there. And, you just got to be careful. You just got to keep your eyes open and watch. I mean, it's easy to fall asleep and just miss it and just sleepwalk through the situation and not realize that, hey, you know what? This is a problem. This is a big problem. It's a big problem that's not going away, and like I said, people need to pay more attention to, what's going on around them. I know folks don't want to deal with it. I know some people may want to just kind of leave it alone, just be entertained and let the politicians figure it out, or let somebody else figure out what's going on. It's crazy, It says such bad baby boomer has just sat back and watched the values and moralities disappear. Yeah, it is a situation where morality and stuff has disappeared, and that's a sad thing. I know what you mean. This YouTube channel got hacked and they couldn't control their YouTube channel and their channel name changed. Yeah, it's like that, unfortunately. I've had Yahoo accounts hacked and all kinds of stuff, So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Tell folks, man, just be careful, man. It's a dangerous world out there, man. But anyway, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. Hey, what's going on with you now? Nothing. Yep. Crazy world we live in, right?
What?
Crazy world.